I know that you've told me before that your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
How Snow White star Rachel Zegler really feels about those toxic Disney fans. Oh, this should go over very well for a film that has had a marketing disaster beyond belief. And it's all because of Rachel Zegler and her disrespect towards the source material. And the fact that no one is actually looking forward to this project at all because it doesn't care about the source material, and in fact it goes out of its way to disrespect the source material. And then you have the star of the movie, Rachel Zegler, who has consistently disrespected the source material, which is a consistent problem within the entertainment industry, whether this is video games, whether it's movies, whether it's television. You're seeing a consistent disrespect of the source material, which is a huge problem, which is why all of this is happening, and none of these people are willing to admit that they are the problem. No, it's the fans. It's always the fans' fault that's the problem. But of course, the fans have voiced their displeasure with this upcoming Snow White movie. 1.2 million downvotes on the most recent teaser trailer over on Walt Disney Studios' YouTube page. 1.2 million downvotes. Absolutely insane. And if you remember, Rachel Zegler in this interview is where a lot of the problem started, where she had these cringe statements right here.
It's different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus.
Good Lord, how incredibly unlikable can you be?
Of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
So no Prince, or a different kind of Prince?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story, just because like we cast a guy in the movie,
Right.
Andrew Burnap, great dude.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I think everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. But it's one of those things.
So true.
It's an inner.
Whew. So anyway, we get back to this Slash Film article. Slash Film is a garbage website ran by garbage people, a very much of a shill website, and they have no problem, shilling for Disney and Hollywood and licking the corporate boot, which is exactly what they're probably going to be doing in this article right here. Ever since her feature film debut in Steven Spielberg's masterful remake of West Side Story, Rachel Zegler has become a lightning rod for controversy. Although, to be incredibly frank, it's usually because people are being weird and racist to her on the internet. That has definitely been the case when it comes to Zegler's other upcoming remake, Snow White, where she plays a Disney princess. And in a recent profile, she told Variety that her film creates an alternative history regarding the princess's name, and said that she tries to ignore the rudest Disney fans, specifically angry ones angry that a Latina actress is playing Snow White. It fell back to another version of Snow White that was told in history, where she survived a snowstorm that occurred when she was a baby. And so the king and queen decided to name her Snow White to remind her of her resilience. One of the core points in our film is that any young woman or young person is remembering how strong you actually are. As Zegler says in the profile, the negative reaction to her being cast as Snow White comes down to basic misogyny and hatred. I've watched women get torn down my whole life, my whole career. We're going to witness that for a long time, I fear. Sometimes it can feel like we're going back. It certainly felt that way when it was happening. Still, she simply stays online when people are awful to her to maintain the power. I don't like giving them the satisfaction of knowing that they hurt me in the moment. You give them a lot of power by taking a social media break. You're telling them that they bother you right now. In this interview, you're telling them that they have power over you right now. Zegler wants her Snow White film to be more empowering than the original. Again, just actually disrespecting the actual source material once again. This is why people were mad. You are showing disrespect towards the source material. That is going to piss people off. Fans is short for fanatic. People are passionate about these things. Besides the absurd racism surrounding Rachel Zegler as Snow White, the actress also made waves by criticizing the original Disney animated film, like I said. But of course, everything is about her race and her gender, according to Slash Film. It has nothing to do with the fact that she's just disrespected the source material. She said, saying that director Mark Webb's take on the story will be a bit more enlightened as far as its female lead is concerned. Zegler said the movie features the prince basically stalking Snow White and called the whole thing weird, while also noting that the entire focus is on Snow White's love story rather than her own personal development. This is a perfectly fair point to make, and yet Zegler faced significant pushback. So what did she say about it now to Variety? In all honesty, it made me sad that it was taken in such a way because I believe women can do anything, Zegler said, but I also believe they can do everything. Specifically, Zegler said that she simply wants girls and women who see the film to feel like they have it all, and also clarified that the love story between Snow White and her prince is in the film, but it isn't the entire focus. I would never want to box someone in and say, if you want love, then you can't work. Or if you want to work, then you can't have a family. It's not true. It's never been true. And it can be very upsetting when things get taken out of context or jokes land. Zegler clarified, the love story is very integral. A lot of people wrote that we weren't doing that love story anymore. We were always doing that. It just wasn't what we were talking about on that day. Man, can she continue? She needs to stop talking right now. Holy crap. As Zegler put it, there's more than one way to play a Disney princess. It feels incredible that despite the completely outrageous hatred she received from random online trolls, Rachel Zegler maintained such a positive attitude about her career and her upcoming projects, including the moment that she tells Variety that she has a personal connection to Snow White. She was my mom's favorite princess. When she was growing up, there were a lot of dark-haired princesses, and that was the one she could relate to. There weren't a lot, of dark-haired princesses, and that's the one she could relate to. Zegler also makes an excellent point where she says that she watched Brandy's 1997 version of Cinderella, the one featuring Whitney Houston as the fairy godmother. By the way, Whitney Houston's one of the greatest singers of all time. Constantly as a kid, and that Disney princesses can be played by anybody across as many adaptations as possible and still the same character. Do you know what didn't happen when Brandy was Cinderella? People hating on it. Do you know why? Because I don't recall Brandy or Whitney Houston or anyone involved with the production calling fans racist and sexist. Preemptively calling them racist and sexist. I don't remember that at all. I remember no negativity around Brandy's Cinderella. None. And Brandy was hugely popular when I was younger. And Whitney Houston's a freaking legend. Like, Whitney Houston's an absolute legend. One of the greatest singers of all time. So I don't remember any of that back then. As a matter of fact, I remember nothing but people enjoying that movie. But of course, Rachel Zegler criticizes, like, imagine if Brandy comes out and says, yeah, we want to make this version better because the old version, that's just an old out of date version of Cinderella. And we're here to tell a modern story to empower women. And anybody that criticizes that is racist and sexist. That didn't happen. But it happened with Rachel Zegler. And now she's playing the fake victim because people are criticizing her based on her disrespect of the source material. Now, again, do I justify anyone going after Rachel Zegler at all? No. I think you should criticize her on her words, but you shouldn't take personal shots. But look, that's my opinion on it. I would never encourage anyone to go out there and do that. Of course, whenever I make videos like this, people online love to sit there and say, he's sending people to harass. I've never done that. I've never justified that. I never will. And I always have to clarify that in these videos. I'm simply reporting on what someone in the entertainment industry is doing. That's it. Not encouraging any type of harassment or hate. Never have, never will. Obviously, we watched the cartoon Zegler continued, but a child's mind is the most amazing thing where we're just like, okay, that's Cinderella. But the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, blue-dressed Cinderella from the 1950s cartoon is also Cinderella. Also, Hilary Duff is a Cinderella story. I was able to comprehend those things at a young age. In just a few short years, Rachel Zegler has built an incredible career and courted controversy. After Rachel Zegler sent an audition tape of West Side Story, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so this is just kind of going over like all this stuff here. Despite her powerhouse voice, serious acting chops, and frankly delightful presence on the red carpet, people are horrible to Zegler. The Variety piece also includes an alarming anecdote about a time that someone on X, formerly known as Twitter, told Zegler that someone should do that to her. Obviously, you're an idiot if you're doing that. No one should be. Again, all you're doing when people do that, and I don't think that there's any justification. There's no justification for it at all. And my whole thing is who exactly is doing it? Who is actually making these threats? Because nobody that I know would sit there and say that to another person just based on the fact that they said something controversial. They just wouldn't do it. And if they did, they know that they would be called out by somebody like me. You should never say that. Never, ever say that. And anyone saying that, there's only two reasons that someone would say that. To troll and then try to make it look like it's coming from people like me, or you're just completely unhinged and no one wants anything to do with you. Like, there's really no justification for it at all. None. Absolutely disavow 100%. You're not welcome here if you're telling people to kill themselves on social media over them being an actor, because all that does is makes everybody connected look bad. Don't justify it at all. Don't support it at all. 100%. Fun fact, I will be dying 8 times a week on this Broadway this fall. She told the random jerk to go ahead and get a ticket and also tag the FBI for good measure. Being famous isn't about the faint of heart. Well, again, it gets said to me too, by the way. I get told these horrible things every day, and I'm just a random low-tier YouTuber. That's all I am. So I would imagine that somebody like Rachel Zegler or anybody on that level gets a lot of criticism and a lot of hate. That's just part of it. I'm not saying it's right, because I get it to a much smaller level than any of them. And it's not fun when it happens, but you know, don't sit there and act like it's just one specific person doing it. There are unhinged people out there, and they like to take full advantage of the situation, but it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right at all. So that's the end of it right there. At the end of the day, Rachel Zegler is creating massive problems for Disney and this film. And when you see reactions like this, it's only going to get worse with an interview like this. This was not a good interview at all. This did not help at all. This only hurt everything that they are trying to do with this movie. And we'll see what happens. I mean, how many times are they going to continue to do this? At the end of the day, if you make a film, let the film stand on its own. If the film's good, if the film's bad, whatever. But when you start blaming fans for any criticism, guess what? No matter what you make, there's going to be criticism for it. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. No matter what you make, there will be criticism. I'm the biggest fan in the world of the Nolan trilogy, all right? Even The Dark Knight. There are people that'll tell you The Dark Knight is a terrible movie. I don't understand that. But there are people out there that think that, because there's nothing on the internet that is universally loved. There's nothing that is universally loved, period. That's the way of the world. Everything is going to have some level of criticism, some things more than others. Will there be legitimate fans of this Snow White project? Yes, just like there's fans of Disney Star Wars, just like there's fans of Adam Sandler movies, just like there's fans of pretty much anything that's out there. But in terms of the overall numbers, the majority of people are not going to be into this for various amount of reasons. But Rachel Zegler's words are not going to help. They're only going to hurt. And this is what's alienating so many people from this stuff, because they're sick and tired of these stars attacking the fan base. You guys have a great day. Thank you very much for checking out this video, and we will talk to you later.